So welcome, Nicole, to episode 13 of the podcast.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for taking the time to be here.
Of course.
So for those tuning in, today we have Dr. Nicole Nasr, who's a counseling psychologist based in London.
Yes.
And she's also the founder of Journey, which is a global platform and community that supports therapists and coaches worldwide.
Yeah.
Maybe we can start by telling us a little bit about how you got into your career and also founding Journey as well.
Yeah, I mean, I was one of those that just knew I wanted to become a psychologist probably at the age of like 15, 16. I even went on to apply to university just to that major, like one university, one major.
Wow.
And
that's definitely not what I did.
Yeah. This is not what most people do.
Yeah.
But there was just like no other option. I think I got into the field maybe for the wrong reasons, in the sense that I thought I was very good at, giving advice, and I really enjoyed being in that position of like, being the helper and being a bit the fixer and the rescuer.
Right.
But the beauty in this profession is that even though you might get into it for the wrong reasons, very quickly you find out what are the right reasons. And I realized that it's not a job for everybody.
Yeah.
It's very hard to do what we do because you really have to sit with people's pain. You really have to tap into your own pain, into your own emotions every single hour that you're sitting with a client. Yeah. And it's very heavy and it's very tiring. And if you're not almost, obsessed with emotions and, may I even dare to say, like addicted to just connecting and connection, it gets very tiring.
Right.
And when I practice with my clients, it goes very deep very quickly. So if I wasn't enjoying that process every hour, forget it. It's the type of job, you can't even do a week or two if you're done. It's very, very demanding.
Sure.
But yeah, I just knew I wanted to do that. Went straight into it. Then took a year out after my undergrad. Practiced back in Lebanon in a inpatient hospital. It was very real, and it was also very clinical, meaning that we were seeing a lot of people that had, bipolar addiction problem, clinical depression.
Sure.
And that also helped me realize that that's actually not what I want to do. I don't want to go too much into the clinical side of things.
Right.
I'm someone that wants to see quite functional people that are going through everyday problem, anxiety, depression, relationship issues, and also, just a bit of like a life crisis.
Right.
And that's where I found myself in the last 3-4 years. I describe my work as like soul searching. I want people to come in and really connect with like their inner selves, understand why are we here. I think the moment that you get to understand why we are here, everything changes in your life.
Yep, absolutely.
I feel like I'm attracting more and more clients that want to grow.
Right.
I want to really invest in themselves, and I really enjoy that type of work. But as a therapist, and if you don't agree with that statement, I generally believe that you're not in the right profession. But you are a work in progress constantly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? I mean, obviously in every other profession, you always need to learn and to grow. But with us, the personal growth, the more I grow on an inner and personal level, the better of a therapist I become.
Right.
So both of these things are so interlinked. And I became the therapist that I am today when I started my own therapy.
Right.
And that was a very big milestone into why Journey came to place, because my therapist is, for one of the best people I know in the field. And
awesome.
She really, very, very lucky
She's
to
based
have her.
in London?
She's based in London. I'm bringing her to Dubai. We're going to do like some events here and there.
Cool.
But she is too good to not be shared with the world, really.
Yeah.
And that was a bit how Journey started, where I'm like, all right, well, there's all these great people that are taking care of others.
Right. But who's taking care of them?
But who is taking care of us?
Yeah, absolutely. That's
exactly.
amazing.
And, I was saying this yesterday, we had an event here in Dubai. I was saying how I come from a place where I have so much respect for people that do what we do. And I have so much respect for our profession. I don't take it lightly. I don't think it's a cute job to have, a nice career. Like, it's not about that. You are in it because you're in the profession of healing.
Absolutely.
You're of service to others, and you're here for a very specific purpose. So for me, therapists and coaches are very sacred people. And I was just thinking, like, who's protecting them? Who's taking care of them? Who's supporting them? Who's investing in them as well? And the answer was really no one. you know, apart from, okay, fine, our training programs and our supervisors, but it's very, you know, it's in a box. It's not the type of growth that we also need in order to become not good enough therapists, but great therapists.
Sure.
So yeah, I went on and I was like, all right, there's no platform like this, so let me just create it.
Good for you.
Yeah, and I went on my own little entrepreneur journey, and yeah, it's like we've been at it now for almost 2 years. A lot of learning curves. Don't forget, I come from a background with literally zero business skills.
Right.
I've been studying psychology since 18.
Yeah.
10 years now, one business class, advertising, nothing of that sort. So it really is a journey, a lot of up and downs, but I'm just so grateful and meeting people that are just very, very special and being able to support them. So that's what we're
awesome.
Doing.
Good for you. You know, honestly, you know, like you were saying, being a therapist in itself is a very humbling profession. You know, it's fantastic that you've chosen the career of healing others. Yeah. And then to go on and open something like Journey, which even further facilitates that and drives it exponentially, right? Yeah. Because if you're healing the healers or helping the healers, then that only gets exponential reach.
Absolutely, because at some point I was like, I can't see more than 8 clients a day. And 8 is a very big stretch. 8 is a lot, It's a very big stretch. I can't see more than 8 clients a day, and I won't work more than 4 times a week. So this was my schedule basically before I started Journey.
Right.
Monday to Thursday, 8 clients. And I was like getting very tired, burnt out. You know, I had to take like big chunks of breaks. So, you know, Christmas I would take a month, Easter I would take around like 3 to 4 weeks. And then summer I would take a month and a half. Like I needed those breaks just in order to be able to give again. But at some point I'm like, I've always been about bigger a bit, you know, wanting to make like a bigger impact.
Sure.
And then I was like, all right, well, I can't see more people, but I can maybe help the people that see other people. And then, you know, maybe even encourage more people to enter the field of psychology and of healing. So that's my own little mission.
Good for you, Nicole. I think that's a very profound thing that you're doing.
Oh, thank you.
And like I said, I feel like it can just broadcast the help exponentially.
Yeah.
And what sort of like support so how does Journey work? So let's say I'm a psychologist or a therapist or a coach. I joined the platform.
Yeah.
How does it work?
So you join the platform. It's a monthly subscription fee. It's steady. We don't take commissions. So if you get a client, if you get a business opportunity through Journey, this is all yours.
Separate,
You pay a monthly subscription fee, $39 a month. It's not big in the sense that people can forget about it even if they don't make the most out of their membership for a month or two because life happens. But it's also, you know, enough for them to feel like, there's a bit of investment. And then in exchange to that, we give them business tools, classes, training, CPD. We do community events. We do brainstorming sessions with them. So basically the whole point is that if you are a therapist and you want to invest in yourself professionally and personally.
Sure.
And the personally is as important as the professionally. Like I was saying before, they're both interconnected. We are here to help you on this journey. Awesome. That's literally it. And, you know, and it's been so beautiful because we've had members that have said, listen, like I'm working with children now. I want to move from children to families. How do I go around that? I have no idea, but how do I do that? All right, let's get on a call. We discuss this. I put them in touch with a mentor. We create, you know, a bit of a strategy around it. Great. Someone else was like, hey, I want to do a workshop. Like I'm really good at this skill, but I don't necessarily know how to rent a room, how to take payments, you know, how to do all of that stuff.
Right.
Okay, great. Are we doing this a collaboration? Then if yes, let's, we'll take care of all the logistics. You just take care of the content.
Sure.
And then, you know, we do everything for them. And so that's what I mean by like, instead of just having you and yourself thinking about, you know, your own future and your own development.
Right.
There's a platform, there's a bunch of people that like are there with you thinking about that.
Right.
And it's been really nice to just see, you know, how people make the most of it. And, like I was saying earlier, when you are a therapist, your learning never stops. Literally, your learning never stops because humans are so complex.
Absolutely.
And one thing that we do, and I really pride myself in this, is that every month I bring in speakers. And it's an hour workshop, very straightforward, very practical. And it really is all about sharing other people's expertise so that therapists are aware.
Right.
So, last week, we hosted a workshop. It was a grief specialist back in the US that was teaching us about the loss of a mother. So obviously every grief is intense and every grief is also different, but the grief of a mother is very, very specific. So, we spent a whole hour talking about some of the things that we need to be on the lookout for. And so it's just, there are so many things to be shared, and it counts as well as CPD, which is continuous professional development in the UK. So it's like, awesome. What's the expression? Like two birds, one stone.
Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely.
Well, I feel like I'm doing 10 birds, one stone with your membership, but
that's awesome. Bravo. I think that's very commendable.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Ready to dive into some maybe touchy subjects?
Please.
So you've been practicing as a psychologist for how long now as a therapist?
10 years.
10 years practicing. And I wanted to ask you, so like few subjects that are typically, considered like taboo in societies, especially in like Arab societies, things like the topic of, for example, family. What percentage of your patients come in and, have sort of family issues, or, because we in society, it's very broadcast in the Western films, family's always everything, and blood is thicker than water, and family over everything, and this is your brother, this is your sister, this is your mother, this is your uncle, you have to, blah, blah, blah. But how many people actually have the majority of their own trauma coming from direct family members or caretakers or whatever the case may be?
Well, most people, not really. Most people, just because, your childhood, as we all know, is the most important phase of your life, because it's the base of your house, right? Absolutely. So whatever gets built in those first 10 years is going to be the base for everything else that gets built on top of it. And who do you spend your time with when you're from 0 to 10? Absolutely. Both of your parents and your siblings, if you have any, cousins, aunts, just because especially in this culture, these are your people. It's your tribe in some kind of way. Right. So a lot of your happiness is going to come from them, but also a lot of your fears, a lot of your trauma is going to come from this.
Absolutely.
We come from a region where, generational trauma is like
profound.
So profound.
Yeah.
So profound. So when you see a client and they talk about their families, it goes at so many different depths. So you have the clients that actually come in and talk about their families because there are some problems in those relationships. Right. Great. We deal with this. And of course, you're going to have certain issues and dynamics. You grow, you change. Some people don't, and especially in our culture, we have a lot of expats, which means that within a family, you then start having people that leave, start growing in different environment, are exposed to different things, and then you come back to the home country or even the family home. Parents expect you to be the same person. Absolutely. You're different. Yep. So a lot of things happen on that level. I would say another level that is very triggering, and I think easily 90% of my clients talk about that, is guilt, and always feeling guilty.
Absolutely.
Always feeling guilty. If you're too successful, you feel guilty that the rest of the family is not. If you're not good enough, you feel guilty that you're disappointing your parents. If you want to grow in a specific way or you want to do something, you're made to feel guilty about it. So guilt is such a big theme.
Absolutely.
Such a big theme. And then there's obviously, just the generational trauma that come from the region as well. Yes. Our parents, I think we both come from the same country. Yep. We come from parents who lived atrocities, and were never really invited to take the time to reflect and to feel and to process. Absolutely. They were very much about one thing after the other, surviving. That's really what it was. Yep. And something that is actually very interesting to see is how their reaction has been to this. So, probably, I'm assuming here, but like most of our parents' generations have been entrepreneurs, They dived into it, they took the risk, they grinded, they had very much of that culture. And most of them pushed for their children to become employees. Please have the security, have a salary, have a check that comes in at the end of every month, have like a pension, make sure that, people are taking care of you, your insurance, what to expect. Go for those types of jobs. Yeah. And then the reality is that a lot of us actually have entrepreneurship in our blood, and around the age of like 30, 35, we're all like, wait, that's really not what I wanted to do. That's not my calling. Yeah. But that's just a simple example, and that's one example to show you how our parents have brought us up from a place of their own lack and their own insecurities.
Absolutely.
Which unfortunately is not how we should be parenting, right? But I also want to be fair with them. Whoever taught them how to parent, their parents were probably even worse, and then worse, and
Exactly.
So our generation is trying to break something here, and that is
the biggest generation of cycle breakers ever right
Absolutely.
now. More and more people are seeking therapy. More and more people are trying to heal. More and more people are saying, okay, these are the dysfunctional patterns that I was raised on, but that doesn't necessarily mean it was right. And it doesn't necessarily mean that I want to live like this, or even more importantly, to pass it on down to my own children, right? Yeah. So we're becoming more self-aware, more, just more aware of the dynamics.
It's so interesting. Now I have a lot of friends who are getting pregnant and giving birth, and the only gift that I'm gifting everybody is like a book around this. Yeah. And I'm like, because I know all of them want to give the best to their children and all that, but the best that you can give to your children is to make sure that you are okay, and you parent 100%. From a place of wholeness and consciousness as opposed to just trying to heal your own wounds.
Absolutely. Yeah, as opposed to raising your children like more compulsively, reacting to their emotions as opposed to responding to them from a conscious place. Yeah. I think that's so important. Something that most of us never had growing up.
True.
So like that's the reason I wanted to bring this topic, is because a lot of people feel a lot of guilt or shame speaking about family issues, and I can't say anything bad because this is my brother, my sister, my mother, my father. But a lot of people do have the majority of their trauma from them. Yeah. So it's important to speak to somebody that's a professional, maybe from the outside, to give you some insight, because it can literally change your life and start your healing journey, essentially.
Absolutely. And I would even push and say that those who are very protective about the family's image and all that, for me in itself is like an issue to talk about.
Yes.
Why the need to never show that anything is going bad? It's a family. It is meant to go bad on so many different fronts. It doesn't mean that you don't love each other. It doesn't mean, but there are problems, there are dynamics. Yes. You have to almost like let go of that need to protect. And for some people that's really difficult.
Absolutely.
It's really
100%,
difficult
because it's very frowned upon, especially in this region, to sort of open up on family issues, but like you said, some people are passing on their generational trauma without being aware. Yeah. Some family members are abusive, some family members are toxic, narcissistic. That does exist. It is a reality. And it's important for people to know that just because it's funny because people say like, oh, this is family, it's okay, you can forgive them. It's almost like family is an excuse to treat you worse, whereas in reality, family should be an excuse to treat you better than people on the outside. But it's almost like they get the get out of jail free card because they're related. And that then forces people to stay in toxic, abusive, potentially narcissistic family dynamics because their family, and families over everything, right?
And that's what I was mentioning with guilt, is that guilt is such a big weapon in order to do that, Yeah. And if you have a combination of like a really good heart and you really don't want to disappoint, and you're afraid that deep down, very unconsciously sometimes even, that you're afraid that you're going to stop being that lovable or the great child or whatever. Guilt is so strong,
of course,
especially with these people. It lands so well.
Absolutely.
So if I want you to do something and you're not doing it, if I'm afraid that you're going to leave me, if I'm a parent and I'm afraid that you're going to leave, or I'm going to end up being alone and all, guilt is all I have in my pocket to make sure that you always show up, that you're always around.
Absolutely.
And the moment that you stop feeling guilty, obviously with moderation. Okay, this is not I'm not encouraging people to become, cold and heartless. That's not what I'm saying. But there has to be a really good balance. Yep. And the moment that I stopped also feeling guilty in regards to a lot of things, in regards to my family, I felt better and freer. And actually the relationship also became better because you become a lot less resentful. You're, you know, when I'm here, it's because I want to be here, you know, as opposed to like feeling guilty, you know, guilt tripped about.
Forced to.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it actually, when you break free from guilt, and that's not something that, you know, just makes you do stuff, you actually have the freedom to now enter a relationship that is a lot more genuine. And
Absolutely.
A lot of the time, you know, we do that stuff because we don't want to make our parents sad or mad, but it's their sadness, you know, if they don't know how to be on their own, if they haven't built those skills, if they, I can't be held responsible for my parents or anybody's parents, for not knowing how to deal with certain things.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting because we were talking about this, a client and I yesterday, about how, you know, like sometimes parents, they just, I gave this analogy of like, it's almost like there's a monster somewhere, but, you know, your parent needs you to like hold the sheet with them. And that's them, you know, asking you like, hey, can you be around? Pick up the phone. I need to speak to you. Let's travel. Let's do this together. And then there's a point where you're just like, I can't, like I have a life to attend to. I can't do that. Yep. And then when you stop holding that sheet, it drops, and then the monsters appear. But then parents are like, why did you leave me? You know, why did you? But that's not what the problem is. The problem is that there's something that you're not facing. You just need someone's help to come and help, you know, cover that up.
Absolutely.
But it's not your job as the child to do that.
Absolutely.
It's no one's job. It's your job to learn how to face this. But and then, you know, my client was saying, yeah, but what if my parent can never overcome this? That's where sometimes I mean, am I cold to even be saying this? I don't know. But like, if they can, then, you know, that's their journey.
Absolutely.
That was their responsibility. Fine, they were not maybe path. And maybe they were not given the skills for it. I understand. I really, really do. But it's not for you to have to pay the price for this.
Absolutely.
You know?
Especially if you've tried and tried and tried, and it's at the detriment of your own well-being and mental health, then there reaches a point where you can't be the savior.
No,
and if you feel like you need to be the savior, then you need to look at what's in it that you need healing, that you feel that you need to be everybody's savior. Because I was like that. I was highly empathetic, no boundaries, people pleaser, wanted to save everybody. And I would give and give and give with no limits to people that weren't necessarily very receptive or appreciative of it. And then I realized I was burning out, and I realized I was just shooting myself in the foot at that point. So yeah, family can be a little bit complex. And it's, like I said, I feel like it's the source of most or many people's primary source of trauma. So I think it's important to, you know, speak about it, speak openly about it, because nobody should sort of suffer just because it's an uncle or an aunt or a mother or father, brother, sister.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
You don't get a free pass because of this.
Exactly. Especially, I don't know how common it is that you see patients that come from narcissistic family dynamics.
A lot.
Yeah, so that's my sort of area of expertise. And I never even knew a couple of years ago what narcissism was, right? I knew sort of the characteristics, but I didn't know it was an actual clinical definition or diagnosis. I didn't know about narcissistic personality disorder and the DSM-5. I didn't know about any of this stuff. And then as soon as I learned it, Nicole, it was the biggest shock of my life. I learned it, and I was like, wow, this just explains my entire life. I couldn't believe it. It was like, you know, I tell my close friends, it was like a dagger in my heart. Could not believe what I was reading when I first stumbled upon it. And I was like, wow, this makes a lot of sense now. And my whole life, Nicole, just flipped upside down. I cannot even explain to you. And that was sort of the turn of my entire life. That's when my healing journey started. And it coincided with very spiritual experiences, which we'll get into a little bit later on. But yeah, so for me, you know, living life on survival mode and ton of unhealed wounds, just sort of surviving life, right? And then what's funny is they say, if you have unhealed wounds, you end up attracting partners that sort of replicate your own family dynamic.
Of course.
Right? So this is something, again, that happened with me. I was living life sort of on like like I said, survival mode. Coming from a narcissistic family dynamic, you end up attracting a partner that also comes from a narcissistic family dynamic, which felt great. I'm like, oh my God, our families are similar. Everything's fantastic. Little did I know what I was doing, which was attracting the exact same dynamic that I was familiar with, because it was very familiar to my own nervous system. This is what I knew. This is what love looked like. It was chaos. It was people pleasing. It was bending over. It was so on and so forth.
Why do you think, I'll be asking you a question now. Why do you think that when you read that description of what narcissism was, why do you think why do you think it was such a big revelation for you?
To be honest with you, Nicole, it's because it was so validating for something that I had been invalidated for my entire life.
Very good. So this is exactly what happens usually. So I get clients in, and we talk and we talk and we talk, and then we realize together that actually they were brought up by a parent, or they have a boyfriend or whatever, that presents with a lot of narcissistic traits.
Yes.
And the thing with narcissism is that you were made to believe that it was your fault the whole time.
Absolutely. Like the amount of guilt and shame that was instilled in you to the point where you were so heavily gaslit from birth that you don't even trust your own internal compass or your own mind anymore, because that was never allowed to be authentic. You were always gaslit. So do you even trust you don't even know who you are actually when you grow up in a narcissistic family dynamic.
Because the main thing about narcissism is manipulation.
Yeah. Manipulation, control, triangulation, gaslighting.
They don't know how to survive in this world without manipulating their way in.
Absolutely.
They don't know.
Yeah.
And yes, I have seen a client or two that presented with narcissistic traits. It's very, very, very difficult.
It's almost impossible, isn't it?
To get to them, because first of all, for them to get to therapy is almost impossible. And if they do, there's a lot of manipulation that happens.
Exactly.
So very often I will only learn that someone is lying to me or manipulating me when one of their relatives will show up uninvited. Let me just add this. But will send me a message anonymously, will call me. I've had wives that have picked up the phone, called me from a private number, and literally just said words like, your client X is lying to you. I heard his sessions and he is just not telling you the truth. He's been doing X, Y, Z. And obviously, I can't engage with that conversation. I can't confirm or deny that I'm seeing this client. But then it goes into your mind, you're like, sorry for my language, but like, fuck.
But how do you know that the person calling you isn't the one doing the manipulating?
You don't know. That's the whole thing, is that you don't know.
Yeah.
And that's how complex this is, because there's so much lying. But I go back to this. They need to manipulate their way into life, because that's the only way that they know how to survive and thrive.
Absolutely.
So then when you have people that are really not into that, actually have a great heart, are well-intended and all, it lands perfectly because you're trusting. You have, I always say this to my clients, I'm like, your biggest default here is that you have an amazing heart.
Absolutely.
And out of this amazing heart, you take it, you believe it. And I often talk about something that is called unhealthy compatibility. You have, when you have a taker and a giver, you put them together.
Absolutely.
It's great.
Yeah. Narcissists and empaths literally are like magnets for each other. One's an overgiver, one's an overtaker, and they sort of get enmeshed with each other.
And then, people think that it's a match made in heaven. We're so compatible. We complete one another. No, you don't.
Yep. Absolutely.
No, you don't.
Your unhealed version thinks that this is your soulmate or you're so compatible, but that's because of your unhealed wounds.
Yeah. And what you said earlier is so correct. We're attracted to what we're familiar with.
Absolutely.
So if you understand toxicity, chaos, manipulation, lying, fights, and all of that, and you have this, that's what's normal for you.
That's exactly what happened with me. Yeah, absolutely. Like they say, your nervous system will always attract familiar chaos over unfamiliar peace. For me, I had to learn about narcissism through relationships and through family dynamics. So it was a very painful experience, of course. But it led me into this whole beautiful healing journey, which I've been on for the past 3.5 years. And as tough as it was, I feel like I wouldn't, in a weird way, trade it now that I've gotten over the majority of the hump. And it also led me down, again, the path of spirituality, which we'll get into a little bit later on.
Well, let's get into it now, because what you said is very... So I know that a lot of people have a lot of difficulty accepting this and taking it on board. And this, I am very careful with the stuff that I say and to who I also say it, because I wouldn't say this to a client who has had, terrible parents and abusive parents and even fathers that have sexually abused them. And I would not say this, because it's too big of a concept.
Yeah, it may come off as insensitive as well, maybe.
Absolutely. Yeah. But sometimes, I say this to clients. I'm like, what if, and I'm like, just entertain me for a second.
Sure.
What if you actually chose those parents?
Very hard to believe if they don't know where you're coming from. As in, your soul chose to sort of incarnate into this situation, which I now, fully, not only do I believe, because belief sort of comes from the construct of the mind. So you can choose to believe something or not believe it. But when you go through direct experiences, you sort of know things more than just, okay, I choose to believe it.
But then it's difficult for anybody to accept that idea or even accept that question when you don't understand the why would you have chosen those parents. And that's why I say, like, how can we, it's like, if I'm about to do an assignment, anything, I want to know, why am I doing it?
Sure.
So imagine this whole idea of life, like no one actually goes
questioned and saying like,
why are we here? What's the point of this whole thing? And I find it so, and there is actually a massive correlation that the most depressed people are the ones that generally don't understand their why.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people think that the why has to do with, your choice of career and your purpose here, finding it. But there's an even bigger why, like
much deeper.
Right. And you're like, and that's why I'm like, if I told you that, and that's something that we do in therapy, that's what I meant by soul searching work that we do. But if I actually asked you, like, why are we really here? What's the point of all of this?
What is life?
What is life? And if we're lucky, we get 100 years. 100 years is completely insignificant.
Yes.
Insignificant.
Absolutely.
Brings nothing to how the world is like going to operate. It has worked way before us. It will continue to work way after us, or stop working. I don't know. But it's so insignificant. So why are you here? And then when you start answering these questions, then when I offer a question like, what if I told you that you actually chose your parents? Why do you think you chose those specific parents?
Yeah.
Then, you're starting to put like the pieces together.
The bigger picture together.
Yeah, bigger picture together.
Absolutely.
But it's really hard. And it's that's why, lately I have found it so difficult to engage in like deep inner work without having access to spirituality.
Absolutely.
And again, I really
because they go hand in hand.
They do go hand in hand. And I want to make a point about spirituality. Spirituality has nothing to do with religion.
Nothing.
It
Pretty
has
much
nothing.
Yeah.
And spirituality, people think it's like, I don't know, the stars and the universe and blah, blah. A little part of it is, but mainly spirituality, there's one word in spirituality, your spirit. Your spirit is your soul.
Absolutely.
So, and the soul is the most intimate thing inside of you. It's nothing that is like so big in astrology and I don't know what. These are elements of it.
Absolutely.
But when I talk about spirituality, I mean, it's the quest of your soul. It's actually understanding what is inside and who you are on the inside.
Absolutely.
And that's the work. It's like, inner work.
Yes.
That's what it is. That's why it's life changing. It's not like cute to have, or it's not like a trend on Instagram. It's life changing.
We are spiritual beings having a human experience, right? It's not the other way around.
I know.
It's not like, oh, we're human beings and some of us can have, a spiritual experience. We're all spiritual beings having a human experience, whether we know it or not.
Well, it's like, I don't know if you've read Gary Zukav's book, The Seat of the Soul. He starts the book with such an interesting concept. He's like, we all belong in one category called the multisensory category. But through our awareness, only a few people realize that we are in this category. And the rest of the people think that we are in a 5 sensory experience, that we experience life just through our five senses.
Exactly.
But we're all part of a bigger circle called that, but then just our awareness separates us. But even the five sensory people are part of a multisensory experience, but they just don't know it.
Absolutely.
That's the only difference.
Yeah.
So yes, I think the most beautiful thing that ever happened to me is my spiritual awakening. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean that it wasn't there and now it's there. It's just that I'm aware of it. I'm conscious of it.
Exactly. You woke up to it.
Exactly. Yeah. And now it's at the center of everything that I do. I understand life like this.
Yes.
And as an entrepreneur, I can genuinely say that I wouldn't be able to wake up every day and do what I'm supposed to do if it wasn't for my ability to understand the spiritual purpose of Journey.
Awesome.
And my therapist always says it, and I mean, her and I, we always say it, Journey is not about a business with ROI and a platform and a tech. It's not about that.
Yes.
It's about also my own
Your
personal journey.
Purpose.
Yes.
Awesome.
In this and what it's bringing and how it's helping me grow and helping other people grow. And it's a collective of souls that are coming together and trying to grow together. And that when you don't see the numbers that you want to see, when you're unable to manage people, when you see so many problems, when you see churn rates, when you see all of that, how do you keep on going? I always do this. I'm like, whoa, I need to zoom out, out. This, when I'm on my deathbed, this moment right here does not matter.
Absolutely.
But I'm supposed to take something from this. I'm supposed to grow. And my business partner, he's one of the people I admire the most. He told me being an entrepreneur is not about, it's not about what people think it is. Actually, it's a marathon, and it's about the one that stays alive the longest, and that can actually fight the mental aspect. And I keep on telling him, I'm like, Nivet, I don't know how people do it when they don't meditate, when they're not spiritually inclined, when they don't do therapy. How do entrepreneurs go through their companies without being in therapy? I have no idea.
Yeah, so they do it because they're driven through the ego, which is a very, not such a smooth path. When it's very rough, it's very turbulent.
True.
When you're driven by your ego, life becomes a little bit, or not a little bit, can become very turbulent.
True.
When you're doing things out of your soul, things flow a little bit,
little
bit smoother. I'm not saying life is all easy peasy, but it's just a little bit more fluid.
I remember probably a couple of years ago, if I had started Journey before my own spiritual awakening, I think, a lot of it would have been driven by ego,
Exactly,
I want to show people that I can do it. I want to get the validation. I want to get, I actually don't care now.
Good.
I almost wish I cared a bit more about that, because that drives you sometimes a bit faster and a bit, but I just don't care about that stuff. I'm like, I get the validation. I don't, it's nice. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sit here. And I say this to my clients as well, even with compliments and all, the goal is not for you to never need any validation.
Yes, exactly.
But it's I know I'm smart, but if someone comes and tells me, Nicole, you're smart, it's nice. It's a bonus point. But if someone doesn't come and tell me that, it doesn't remove from my own self-belief.
That's exactly it.
And that applies for everything.
Absolutely. Validation is nice, but if you reach a point where it's not necessary for you to be self-validating, then that's the goal.
Exactly. They're bonus points.
Yeah, absolutely.
There shouldn't be what you rely on.
Absolutely, yeah. But it's normal. The first half of our life, I feel like, Nicole, is about, building the ego, and you got to go get a degree, get a good job, make some money, get a good house, good car, right? That's what we're all taught. And then somewhere along in life, which may or may not happen to you, but clearly it's happened to us, is that you can sort of, it's funny because my spiritual mentor told me that you either get into spirituality by desperation or by inspiration. There's those two paths. Either you sort of hear about it and you become inspired. Or life throws something at you which is very destructive to the ego. I don't know if you've heard of the term dark night of the soul.
No.
It's basically, maybe we'll look it up after. It's basically a moment in time that happens to somebody. It actually should be called dark night of the ego, not dark night of the soul, but the common word is dark night of the soul. And it's essentially an event that happens to you that flips your entire life upside down. In the darkest of darkest moments where you cannot see the light anymore, you realize that the light has always been within, essentially. And some people have to go through that to sort of awaken, right? And that's what happened with me. Of course, leaving two narcissistic family dynamics at the same time. You know what happens when you leave a narcissistic dynamic? There's something called a smear campaign.
Of course.
They smear you. They say you're crazy, you're abusive, you're toxic. I was called manipulative, bipolar, everything in the books, just to smear me by the people that I had loved the most. It was the most painful thing, Nicole, that I've ever been through in my life. I don't wish it upon anyone. The amount of grief and rage that was happening at the same time, which is very confusing because part of you, your inner child, wants to just cry and need somebody to sort of hug them. But then the rage that's coming out at the same time, it's so confusing, right?
Yeah.
And through that moment, through that dark night of the soul, I felt something. And luckily, when I had started therapy, my psychologist is also very spiritually inclined. So he's an older man. We have do you know Harry Potter?
Yeah.
So we have a Harry Potter Dumbledore relationship, literally. The same way that Harry used to sort of learn from him, look up to him, that's who he is to me.
To you.
And he spent many years in India, in ashrams, going towards, I don't know if you know what self-realization or enlightenment is.
Of course.
So
it's really beautiful. And this is why as well, like with Journey, it's so important that other therapists are made aware of this. Because yes, I was never taught about spirituality in my training program because it's not evidence-based.
Right.
You can't prove it with the five senses. But at some point I was able to grow out of the five senses and realize actually I don't want to rely just on my five senses.
Absolutely.
There are so many other senses as well that I want to tap into.
Absolutely.
And when you discover this, you realize that there's like, it's almost like training programs have given therapists like a little box to go and help clients. And they're like, okay, try your best with what you have here.
Yeah.
But there's like a truck, like a container of other tools that just because they're not evidence-based, we don't get to like touch them and look at them.
Yes.
And when you grow as a therapist as well, and you grow the confidence to just go and be like, wait a second.
Yep.
Okay, this is nice.
Right.
Good enough.
Sure.
It takes people, from like, at least it manages like proper symptoms and all of that. Okay. But I want more from my clients. I don't want them to have to ever go through this ever again.
Absolutely.
I want them to understand again what life is about and be able to like sit with things and just the body. We were never really taught how to attend to the body.
Absolutely.
And mind you, I did a doctorate program. It's not that like I studied a master's here and there and like maybe a 6-month training.
Absolutely.
I studied for 10 years.
Yeah.
10 years, not one time did they tell us like the importance
Anything
of
about the
tapping
body.
into the body. Meditation.
Yeah.
Meditation has changed my life. I meditate every single day.
Good for you.
And I had something happen in the summer. I wasn't able to meditate for 2 months. I lost the practice. My life literally did this.
Yeah, absolutely.
The self-doubt was creeping in. I thought about abandoning, letting go of like Journey for so many times.
Yeah.
I wasn't myself. I was getting very, irritated. I was just like, I wasn't feeling aligned. Literally, I wasn't feeling aligned.
Yeah.
And as a result of this, everything was like crumbling. And this was like just a month ago.
Yeah.
And now I'm here, like, again, you go back to the practice, you go back to, it brings me so much.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, how was I not taught how to meditate in my doctoral program?
Exactly.
So then I can teach that practice to, it's not a nice, cute thing to do,
it's
every
profound.
It's like, it's the only thing that matters in a day.
Sure.
And it's like, it's these kind of things that you just go, all right, well, I'm not going to go and challenge my university.
Books, right.
And I'm not going to go and challenge university programs right now. But what can I do instead?
To add on,
Then I can introduce therapists to these types of practices,
No, absolutely. Good for you, Nicole, because I myself was very evidence-based. Coming from an engineering background and a nutrition background, it's all about science.
Yeah.
So I was very scientific only.
Yeah.
If you can't show me the evidence, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear about spirituality. I don't want to hear about anything, right? But like you said, science comes from the measure of the five senses. But what if you can go beyond the five senses? So this is the physical realm. What if there's a metaphysical realm, which there is, right? And then you sort of, when you look at psychology, it's just the study of the mind. So of course, it's super important about, learning your patterns, your cognitive awareness, your behaviors, healing some trauma.
Yeah.
But what if there's something beyond the mind, beyond just the mind, right? And when you meditate, you sort of get a little bit closer to that.
Yeah, but for instance, you just used the word like a metaphysics, right? Words like these, unfortunately, scare some people out.
Exactly.
Right? And they just go, no.
This is
like,
a bunch of hula.
Yeah. So like
I
they
was the
don't,
same.
right? So they don't engage with this. Hence why, like, for instance, I have let go of the word God. I don't use the word God anymore.
Yeah.
I use the word universe.
Absolutely.
It resonates a lot more with me and with some clients. And some clients, I tell them, you use whatever words.
Whatever works for you.
Works for you. But unfortunately, there's such a big association sometimes with the words that we use that people just go, nah, I don't do that.
Exactly.
This is why, like, I keep on having to redefine what spirituality really means, because people just go in different places.
Right.
And when we talk about like other senses, intuition, let's not go like so far. It's not. We're not talking about like you tapping into another realm and just intuition, gut feeling.
Yep.
Everybody has always talked about that. None of us have been taught how to actually tap into our gut feeling.
Or to actually listen to it, right? We feel like, oh, it's just a saying, it's your gut feeling, it's your intuition. But intuition and gut feelings is an actual thing. It's like, the way I look at it, it's like a compass that was given to each and every one of us to be our own unique soul.
It is.
So at some point in life, we need to make the journey. The biggest journey, I feel, is the one from the head to the heart.
Yeah.
So the head has all the conditioning, all the societal constructs from family, from religion, from social media, from news, from universities. We're all taught cognitively what to do, and nobody ever teaches you to tap into your own intuition. We're all unique. We all have our unique paths. So it's kind of like a battle between the heart and the mind, and the heart will always win.
Yes. And that's why meditation is important, because otherwise you can't, like, it's like I need to fight something. But when my eyes are open and I'm just engaging in this world, I don't have time, and I'm not paying attention to the fight that is happening inside. Yeah. So you just go but then when you stop and you create silence, and I find it so. Okay, so when you travel in Europe, there's like these. I mean, I'm assuming there's like Dubai, Fly Dubai as well. So I'm just gonna give you an analogy here. Sure. When you take these like cheap low cost flights, you usually have to like leave the airport, then you walk outside, and then you enter the plane, right? When you walk outside, when you're in London and it's like February, and you walk in that moment, let me tell you that the winds are insane. And you like leave the silence of the airport, not the silence actually, the chaos of the airport. And it's like, people are running the announcements and all of that. And then you have to, this is your mind. Then you go outside to get to the plane. That's where you get like the wind slaps you here, like you're struggling, you're cold. That's the moment that when you close your eyes and you're about to like go inside, you meet this storm. That storm is made of thoughts. It hits you. It's like it's so noisy. Emotions. You can't concentrate. You find it so hard. And that's where people usually stop. They're I can't meditate. I can't meditate. I can't meditate. But you need to like walk through it. And it's not on a one sitting.
Yes.
Multiple sittings. But then the whole point is that, because again with the analogy, when you leave that like wind and all that, and you get just on the plane and it's like silence. There's like just nothing. Yeah. That's when you know that you've actually hit the right place inside of you. And I don't want people to abandon because there's just so much wind and all. It's literally as if like you go outside of the airport, like, no, there's so much wind. I'm just gonna go back. Yeah. Go through the storm. Yeah. Go through it. Yeah. Go through that. Sit with your emotions. Sit with your thoughts. Yes. Go through that uncomfortable. We're so used to running away from our thoughts, from our emotions. We want instant dopamine hits all the time. Anything uncomfortable, we want to run away from. Of course. Right? The meditation sort of forces you to sit with your thoughts, with your feelings, and sort of process them, first of all, and go through them. And maybe, like you were saying, beyond that, there's something peaceful on the other side. But hard, like no one ever taught us that. Absolutely. Like, so it's not, and I do say, and I do say this to my clients. I'm like, you can't blame yourself for not knowing how to sit with your emotions.
Absolutely.
You were never really taught what to do with that. All you know is that it doesn't feel nice.
Yeah.
You become very anxious.
Yeah.
Physically, like your body is like doesn't feel safe.
Yeah.
So you run away from it.
Yeah.
But then a lot of the work that I do with clients, it has to be like, it's not, and I think if any of my clients are seeing this episode, like I think they're like mortified by this sentence, but it's not because it feels bad that it is bad.
Correct.
And the moment that you accept that, I have clients that like physically have felt terrible, but then as they're telling me, they see my smile and I'm like, well done.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, I can't believe you were able to do that. And they're like, what do you mean? Like I was anxious. I felt like I was about to throw up and I was like, good, it's okay. I know that it doesn't feel good, but that's a result of you doing the uncomfortable thing.
Correct.
It's not because it feels bad that it is bad. Actually, most of the time when you're changing stuff, it's going to feel terrible. And the worse it feels, the more you know that you're on the right path.
Correct.
At least for a certain period of time. If this lasts for like years, please stop. But you're probably not doing something correctly. But at the beginning, at least, you know, the first couple of weeks of month, it's going to not feel good. And that is okay.
That's okay. Yeah, absolutely.
Not only okay, it's encouraged. It's more than okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a very important point. And like you were saying earlier, you know, a lot of it, like you were saying, like you were never taught that a lot of it is about the body itself as well, right? So trauma is not just cognitive or stored in the mind, it's quite literally stored in your nervous system, in the body. And to heal trauma, depending what type of trauma you have. So if you have like, for example, PTSD or complex trauma, you then need to go to the body as well, not just the mind. So it's cognitive, somatic, emotional, and even spiritual forms of healing that you need to get a more holistic view of things, right? In psychology, like we were saying, in talk therapy, it's mainly through the cognitive side. But then I don't know if you heard of Bessel van der Kolk.
Yes, of course.
The Body Keeps the Score. So he's a fantastic Dutch psychiatrist that realized that mental health and well-being is much deeper than just the mind. So he was very pro medication, you know, medicine will solve your mental health. Then he started studying how the body actually stores the trauma and how you can go to the body to actually release it, right? Makes a world of a difference.
Of course. And, you know, I'm always honest with my clients. I'm like, this is talk therapy. And yes, we do bring it a bit into like the spiritual
which is
realm
very
as well,
important.
which is very important,
but it's not
like,
the all.
But I'm like, it's not enough.
Exactly.
So now, you know, I work very closely with somatic healers. I work very closely with breathwork specialists.
So important.
And I tell my clients, like, this is a multi, you know, this is a whole thing.
Yes.
I can't,
we're holistic beings.
Exactly. We're dealing with one bit of it. But I also need you to go and move. I need you to go and dance.
Exactly.
I need you to go and like sing. I need
Nobody
you to
asks,
laugh.
how are you eating? How's your relationship? How's your friendships? How are you liking your job? People don't typically get so deep into things. It's more like they look at one facet. And that's, you know, sometimes like if you see a psychiatrist, you know, I'm anxious, anti-anxiety, benzodiazepines. I'm depressed, antidepressants, SSRIs. It's very straight to treating the human as a biological specimen as opposed to a holistic thing. And I see this all the time, especially here in the Middle East. Again, not bashing any career or any domain. Of course, psychiatry has its pros and has helped billions of people. But I feel like people, because they rely on quick fixes and instant solutions, they want a pill or potion for everything. And a lot of people rely on these things too heavily, whereas sometimes there's something way deeper. What about healing your inner child? What about healing your trauma? What about eating better, moving, dancing, singing, being more authentic?
But also the reality, Hoy, and I do, you know, any psychiatrists that I usually recommend to my clients or to people around me, there are psychiatrists that are very moderate when it comes to this. But I will also tell you something, and that's the harsh truth.
Yeah.
Healing is also not for everybody.
Yeah.
You have
absolutely.
a lot of
people just want to numb their pain.
But they don't know how, they don't have the inner strength. And it's not, and I have had to also accept that, like, I try, but I also need to accept sometimes that it's not for everybody.
You're right.
And maybe it's not for, like, maybe it's not for now, you know, maybe that's someone that still needs to struggle. And then, you know, in 10 years time, will be a bit ready. And some people are never ready in this lifetime. And you have to be okay with this as a healer. We have to be okay with this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, you know, we try, but there's a point, and I say this to clients, this is as far as I go.
Exactly.
I need you now to start meeting me halfway. If you don't do that, we're going to keep that dynamic. Fine, you want to keep coming and just, share like your week and all of that.
Yeah.
Fine. I like you. Like this is, but I need to tell you, this is not real work.
Yeah,
we're not healing like all these different parts because you are not ready. And I have to accept the fact that you are not ready.
Sure.
So this is where, sometimes psychiatrists, like we also need them, because those people that are really suffering and struggling, but don't have the ability to do the hard work.
Yes.
Please help them,
sure.
and
whatever way.
Yes, and like it's like, you broke your leg and you need to go to physiotherapy and you need to like exercise and all. But to get there, you need a crutch. Like you need something.
Absolutely.
And that's the medication. That's why, like, for me, everything has a place, as long as it's moderate, as long as like it's with the right intention. And the problem today is that a lot of things are going into extremes. We don't know why we're doing things anymore. The intention behind it and the consciousness is just not there. But if done properly, there's so many options and so many different ways to heal. Yep. But you have to be ready. Absolutely. You have to want to take that journey.
100%. And one point I'll add also on the top of like psychiatry, what some people may not know, but it's important to know. So psychiatry or whatever it is can give you, say, an anxiety pill or benzodiazepine, antidepressant, SSRI. That will sort of numb emotions that are coming up. But to heal, you actually need to feel the emotions that are coming up, not suppress them. Yes. Not with a pill, not with alcohol, not with nicotine, caffeine.
Yes. So this is where like benzodiazepine act like this. They're like alcohol. Well, not alcohol, but like they just numb the symptom.
They suppress it.
But then you have like the SSRIs, for instance. We often describe them as like antibiotics. They don't numb you. What they do is that they re-regulate the levels of serotonin that you need in your brain.
Yes.
This is why like there are so many. There's so much misinformation when it comes to clients as well when they come in, and sometimes I will suggest, I'm like, honey, you're here. I know that you want to do the work, but you're too low. It's so hard for you to even comprehend like one of the elements and all. Absolutely. So I'm like, let's think about the medication. No, but I don't want to feel addicted to them. You're not. If your psychiatrist is prescribing benzodiazepine for a reason, let's talk about that. Fine, you want to talk about that. But when they're prescribing Prozac, Zoloft, like these medications that actually can really help you to get you to a place
to be able to do the work.
To be able to do the work.
So if you're so low that you can't even get out of bed, 100%.
Exactly.
And that's what it's for, right? Exactly. But it's important for people to know that that's not the end solution.
Of course not.
Right? It's something to get you up to then go about and be able to do that inner, deeper work. Yes. And then you can get off.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's why, having the combination when needed is a great form.
Absolutely.
But then you also have, it's very unfortunate, but, the cancer of mental health, when you have schizophrenia, there is no, bipolar. It's so hard.
Yeah,
exactly. It's also hard. This is why I'm like, we need to understand the place of everybody in this like massive ecosystem. Yeah. But it is we shouldn't be numbing. Yeah. And if we're numbing, it's just people think that, okay, fine, numb, it will go away. Yeah. It doesn't go away.
Yeah, no,
it gets worse.
Yeah, absolutely.
It gets worse and worse and worse until the numbing doesn't work anymore, and you either do the right decision and you try to do something about it, or you increase the numbing. Yeah. And then you go into different things.
Absolutely.
Gambling, shopping, substances, whatever, sex. And even, like going out, or I often say this, like, I have a lot of clients that like are what we call like serial daters, they'll just go one date after the other. You accumulate connection.
Exactly.
And, they romanticize it. Yes. Like, no, but I love it. I love meeting people and connecting. No, you don't.
Yeah, they're running away as well.
No,
they're using dating or sex as a coping mechanism as well, right? It's just like another substance, like another pill, like another potion.
Exactly. The amount of time I've had to tell clients, I'm like, you are addicted to these, like, to the flirting and to this, and they're like, what do you mean? No, I just love the connection. I'm like, you're romanticizing it. Stop it. And that's a tricky thing. Yeah. When people in general just start romanticizing something that is so unhealthy, they're like, no, but it's just like this and it helps me do that and blah blah. And like, no, it doesn't. Yeah. That's the narrative that you've created around it to justify it and to make it okay.
Absolutely. But like you said, healing is not for everyone. Some people will choose to, unfortunately, get by, sort of suppress things, get by life. It's something that I've had to learn the hard way as well. But you can't force anybody to sort of go on that path. It's a very individual, sacred journey. Yeah. It could be very difficult for some, but it's always worth it at the end. That's for sure.
I sure hope so.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all the time that we have for today,
Perfect.
Nicole. Thank you so much
Thank you,
for agreeing to come on the podcast, taking the time to be here.
Of course, and well done on all this inner work that you've done.
Thank you.
It's very impressive to be sitting with someone that is not a therapist and to be able to actually have that type of depth of conversation. So
yeah,
really well done for that
work.
work.
It means a lot. Thank you. Yeah, and who knows, maybe there'll be episode 2 at some point in time. I'd love to continue getting deeper into it.
Perfect.
Cool. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Nitu.